Hey, John, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Thanks for office hours.
absolutely. Don't mind me. I'm actually at the gym working out, but I'm just
Nice.
listening and yes.
Awesome. Well, I have a feeling it might be a little bit of a thin crowd because I know there's another Zoom going on here. But is there something that you're wanting that you have a particular question about or something that you'd like me to talk about tonight?
Um, I think it's well, I'm kind of new actually to sub two.
Awesome.
But I'm
Welcome.
actually interested in thank you. Um, I'm actually interested in like purchasing land, as far as
Ooh.
affordable housing. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I mean I know I've actually reached out to like a realtor as far as um um but this was before I joined sub two as far as just setting in some like land deals. But it's just I think for me it's just like knowing the ins and out of having to choose like which is a good land to purchase, things like that. So
Awesome. Okay. I love it. So maybe trying to figure out kind of how to find like what fair market value is would that be something kind of fair
yeah,
to? Okay,
yes. Uh-huh.
sweet, awesome, we can certainly do that. What up, Seth? Hey, Giselle, how are you guys?
Hey Sam, how are you?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well?
Good.
Surviving, thriving, everything in between?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm a little bit out of my normal office today. As you can see, I'm at the airport, but let's talk land. What do you guys have any questions or anything that you have burning desires or questions or anything like that that you want answered today? Anything?
Um,
Bueller? Bueller?
yeah. You know what? I guess I could ask you this because it's something that was coming up for me recently. So,
Sure.
I'm working with a couple of girls that we're doing our mailer campaigns, and
Awesome.
we just kind of started on a couple of weeks of weekly mailers and follow-ups starting. Um,
Yes.
And there was
Great.
suggested some of the latest lists that some of the properties were higher priced, and they were suggesting that maybe, and this is what I'm wondering about opinion, they were suggesting not to put anything on the list right now that is over 50 grand, because some of ours were at the discounted offer price, properties that were, even up to 100,000 offer price. So I think this had more to do with potential funding issues or selling
Okay.
issues. And I'm thinking, well, I guess if it took longer to sell off a property that was in a higher range, I mean, isn't that more about seeing what type of funding is out there for that, right? And
Gotcha.
perhaps, I mean, because we don't want to stay small just because what? It's all relative, right? I'm guessing. Uh,
Yes, I would say it definitely is. So let me make sure I'm getting this straight. So you guys are doing mailers, which is awesome. And now you're taking anything off your list that's over 50,000
no, no,
asking or
it was suggested because our last list had some properties that were a little larger, a little higher priced.
okay.
So, our offer was, 80 to 100,000, meaning that was maybe up to 50 or 60% on some of the larger ones
Sure.
of what we could sell it for. So
Okay.
it was suggested that we stick to lower priced for quicker
Why?
sale. Well, this is why I was like, I'm thinking it was a funding concern, or right, or the
Gotcha.
fact that it could stay on the market longer than 6 months is what they suggested. So that's to me is
Okay.
a funding concern, right?
Can
Um,
be. Can
hmm.
be, right? I mean, honestly, it's all about different funders will also too fund at different levels, and they'll also fund at different time, like loans periods, right? So some may only do 8 months, some may do 9 months, some may do 18 months, some may do 6 months, right? And so in general, when you start looking at like the funding component of it, right? Because that's always a concern, right? You get a contract and now, oh crap, I can't fund it. So, right? Normally what I say
Or
and what I
what's that
look
funding
for,
gonna cost?
what's
Right?
that?
Or what's that funding gonna cost?
Right, potentially, right? What is it going to cost, right? What I look at when I see that is that tells me that those people are either playing in just the infill lot game, or they don't have any idea of where to get funding, and so then they get really nervous about that. That's my gut reaction, not knowing anything else beyond what you got, beyond the generalization that you've told me, right? So
Good point. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So generally speaking, right, there, I don't want to say it's easier to get funding for larger deals, but there's more margin in those larger deals,
yeah.
right? And so, like, let's take an infill lot, for example. So if we take an infill lot and it is, say, the retail price on it is 15,000, right?
Oh, that's small.
Right, right. This is like just an example, right? So say, you're going to get a little small infill lot. It's 15,000 is the retail on it, right? And
Mm,
you get it under contract for 7.5, right? So you get under contract for 50%, right? Your estimated margin, right, without closing costs and all that stuff is 7,500, right? Now you start taking out that closing costs and everything else and holding costs and XYZ, right?
right,
Now all of a sudden you're down to like 3,000 or 4,000, right? It's a really, really skinny margin.
yeah.
When you look at like a larger deal, for example, let's say you have like a 40-acre tract that is going for $500,000,
Oh, that's large.
right? Yeah, right. It can be, right? $500,000, right? And so you look at that 40 acres. Actually, let's make it easy. Let's go 40 acres, 400,000, right? So it's 10,000 an acre for that, right? And all of a sudden you're going to get, let's say you get under contract for 200,000, right? At that same 50% margin.
Yeah,
You're going to have a lot more wiggle room to go
exactly. No,
within there,
absolutely.
right?
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And so also too, you're probably going to have more likely to actually find somebody to fund that second scenario
you think?
versus
Yeah,
the first one, right? Somebody might fund the first one, but it's going to be peanuts for them, right? And they'll say, whatever, I'll, give me
that's fine.
3,000 and you can keep 1,000, right? And it's, whatever,
Right.
they'll do they'll make 50% on their money right off the bat or whatever, um, versus when you get something larger like that, like a $400,000 track, and all of a sudden, you have a $200,000 margin,
Yeah,
right? Those funders are going to be like, I like this, because even if you drop the price, say 10%, right? Now all of a sudden you're selling it for 90% of market value, right? You're
yeah.
selling it for 360. You still have a
Mhm.
$160,000 margin. That's still a fat margin. It's not a really skinny guy. It's a really fat margin. So generally speaking, when people say that, they either don't have any connections to funders, don't
This is
understand how funding works,
right.
or don't know how to do it or have never gone that route or whatever it is. And they just have totally self-funded, right? Which is
I
not
guess
inherently bad. It's just slower to grow that way if you want to do that. And eventually you're going to run into some sort of wall where it's like, crap, I can't. I have this $500,000, I have a $400,000 property and I got under contract for 200, but I can't self-fund it because I only have 150,000. Crap. Do I have to give this away?
I think this
It's
is
like,
where
no.
it leads to is right is like funding sources.
Mhm,
So because we're obviously in starting phases, we know
mhm.
that there's certain things we have to build up and kind of get in place. So
Yes.
that's it. We can get funding for less. We can get good
Mhm.
funding for smaller parcels. But for
Yep.
the larger ones, so I guess that's a question I'll throw out there too is
Mhm.
what do you think about funding options out there, what's available, and
Yes.
what do
So
you
there's,
normally see in terms of, cost?
yeah. So cost is highly variable. Let me
Yeah,
just throw that out there.
yeah.
I've seen anywhere from 8% to 27%. So
Yeah.
highly variable. I do not recommend you go 27%. However, what I normally look at is, and what I actually personally do is I start going about, sorry if that's really loud. Can you guys hear that at all?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. The AirPods are doing the trick. They're making overhead announcements, so I apologize. Um, so funding, what I'll look at is I will look and see and start making reach outs to different people, right? Whether that is in the community and it's gators, right? So in one of the community and start talking to gators. I will start looking at local banks around the areas that we're looking for, specifically credit unions,
Hmm,
and I'll go talk to them,
really?
especially if it's rural land, because they're
Do you not
familiar
need
with
a
the
little
area,
bit,
they're familiar with the ag side
wouldn't
of
you
it.
need a little bit more history or something with the banks? No?
You never know until you go talk to them. You never know until you go talk to them.
Okay,
So if you're targeting a certain county, I would start reaching out to banks in that county. I would reach out to your own personal bank. So whatever bank you use for a majority of your banking purposes.
I'm Canadian.
Nope, that won't work.
That
All
won't
right,
work.
we'll retry that. All right, we'll
We're all
knock that one
Canadian.
off the list. Um,
We're
so then,
infiltrating people.
yeah, way to go. No. So then the other piece of it too is I'll start reaching out to lenders and people who I've met. And so my goal personally is I actually have like one of my daily, I call it my daily three. So I have to do three things every single day. That's just like that'll continue to move my business forward. And one of those is literally reaching out to one person in the land ecosystem.
Mm,
So whether that's a lender or realtor, um, a hard money lender, a gator, might be a seller who knew somebody who knew somebody, and the long chain of people. But I will try and reach out to somebody within the ecosystem every single day. And what will happen is, especially if you start putting all your focus towards those lenders and towards the money, before you know it, you'll just like, I have 7, 8 reliable funding sources that I could call up and go and see whatever they would fund. Right. And some people say no to a parcel. Like I had somebody say no to, I just got a subdivision under contract, and one of my funding sources said no. Okay, fine. That's all right. I'm not a one trick pony. I got 6 more that I can
yeah,
go to. Right. And then, you also, of course, obviously have self funding too, if you can afford that and do that.
yeah.
Um, but that's what I would look at is I would just start going through your Rolodex of people who you know and start reaching out to see who lends on land.
So when you talked about gators, sub two,
Mhm. Yep.
um, would through what channels would you reach out to try to connect with gators? Just through the regular sub two group, or
Yeah. So Subtier and Gators are kind of going to be like they
I
have their own
know,
separate like communities, right? So like how
right?
do you tap into that, right?
Yeah,
Find people who are both.
I do know someone in Canada actually who invests in the States or both, or I think
Cool.
he's a sub two now. Yeah.
Right. So certainly can help, right? They don't have to be Canadian either.
No,
Right.
no,
So
it's
keep
just that
that in mind.
I'm thinking of someone who joined Gator and then joined
Oh,
sub two
sure.
after.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a few other ways that you can also go about it. One is the owners club list.
yeah,
You can
I
go in
have
there and see
almost, yeah.
who's Gator on there.
Mm,
And then
mhm,
also too, just post in the Facebook group.
yeah,
Just post in the Facebook group. Hey, who lends on land? Da, da, da,
right.
da.
It's
Right.
true.
And so,
I'm bad with
you
social
never
media.
know, like who will, oh yeah, I lend on land. Like I had somebody who just reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw your post on land. I lend on land. And I'm like, great, we should talk for sure. Right? But it's one of those where it's like, you just never know, because there are people who also too just do straight private money lend. And they have like one or two people who are just constantly feeding them deals and they just love it. Right. So they just love those deals because they might be 6 months, right? Or they might be 9 months, right? And they get good interest rates and they'll just keep
Or
churning and
less
they
than
just keep
6 months and
having.
get paid on 6 months.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I'm
Right.
doing
So, like that's always, that's what I would recommend is like, just
yeah.
make it a goal to reach out to one person per day for the land ecosystem. And that even too might be like, if I don't know whatever area this is in, give me the state.
North Carolina.
Okay, sweet. So in
Sorry.
North Carolina, go and find agents who have sold properties in that area.
Mhm.
Here, let's do it. We're going to do it together.
We were just
Ready?
compiling our list actually for realtor outreach.
Nice. Okay, cool. We're going to go to land.com. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
See this thing here that says find an agent?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right,
I
North
don't know
Carolina.
I don't know if my people used land.com. That's a good point. Thank you.
So here's 441 agents in North Carolina. Here's your Rolodex. All right. So figure out, if you have a certain county or whatever it is, right? And, then you'll punch in whatever
Yeah.
county that is.
Yeah.
And then start typing that in and then literally just, hey, Mr. Bob Scott, excuse me, Squat.
Bob Squat. Hey,
Bob
Squat.
Squat. Bob Scott. And then just be like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, he's out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, or at least some of that is, right? Hey, all right, cool. Give him a call. And that's your one person today,
Yeah.
right? And take a look. It looks like he has a nice little, quality land at wholesale prices. Your number, it looks like he might be an investor himself or something like that, right? You can look at, try and find an agent, right? Here, Scott
I'm
Hicks.
glad you kind of mentioned the three a day. Because we've just been building our builder list just to do some reach out for there and finishing up the realtor list
Yes.
too. We had realtor list, but for a different area. So we're kind of working on those things, for potential buyers
Perfect.
and for, of course, this outreach with the realtors.
Yes.
Like that one a day. Because
Just
I
one.
was
That's all you need.
starting,
Just
I was
one.
like, okay, how many calls? I have another business too. I was like, how many calls can I make? I
Just
don't
one.
know about this.
Just one. Just one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one. Because if you
One
do that,
each. One each.
yeah, right. If you do that, right, and all of a sudden, if you do that every single day, you have 365 new contacts, new reach out points. You can't tell me that you can't find a lender after 1 year of doing that.
Right. Duh. Yeah.
Right. I know it sounds crazy, but like
Yeah.
it's a realistic thing, right? Here's another way too that you can also go for it, right? So if we go North Carolina.
If I could just interject too while you're doing that,
Mhm.
I guess I'm wondering too, not knowing, like you're saying, well, it could be anywhere from 8% to crazy numbers.
Mhm.
How do you really vet them to see what you could ask or say to find the right type of lender, you know?
Sure.
If you're asking
Yeah.
a realtor if they have any sources, what you would maybe ask them or
Mhm. I would say, here, we'll use Mr. Scott Hicks. All right. So poor
Gabby.
Scott, we're gonna pick on him today. All
Yeah.
right. And I would call him up, be like, hey Scott, how's it going? I see, you're a realtor. Looks like you're in Pine Knoll Shores, North Carolina. You know, tell me a little bit about what you got going on. I got a parcel here I'm kind of taking a look at. I think I might want to buy it, or I might be listing it here, or you can use whatever phrase you want. And then say, yeah, the other piece too, it might be great to, I might want you to list it in XYZ. By the way, too, do you happen to have any good contacts for like people who fund land? I know that's always like a hiccup in the land space. Like, do you know of anyone who would normally fund land, or like who do you normally send all your buyers to, like to get the funding for the land?
Mm. Okay. Yeah, very simple.
They'll tell you, if they're a decent agent and they look at it and they think that they're going to get commission out of it, they'll definitely answer you, right? I normally just go about that too. I mean, I have a few different, probably 4 or 5 realtors in North Carolina where I'm on their drip for land.
Yeah.
And so, am I going to buy something at market price? Well, probably not unless it's a subdivide, right? So my goal in finding those drips is A, to have a good network of realtors to be able to list things really quick if I need to. B, have a good relationship for potential funding sources. C, potentially find some properties that are listed on market that haven't really thought, like the person, either the realtor who's listing them or the seller or a combo platter, have not thought of other ways that they can improve that property or that parcel. So
Mhm.
essentially using that relationship in different ways. And then, like, let's say I do find something, like let's say Scott has a property. We'll just say this one. I'm pulling it out of the weeds. I have no idea here. We'll say this one, right? And we'll say, okay, 427,000, 57 acres, right? And I go, hey, I'm gonna, I want to buy this property. My goal for it is to subdivide it. I want to subdivide this off. And when I subdivide it, I want you to represent me on the back end of that subdivide. So now I want you to get the commission for this sale. So you're going to get the commission off the 425, 427, 428,000. Plus also
Mhm.
too, when I subdivide this into 5 different parcels, I want you to get commission on each one, right? That's pretty motivating for realtors
That's
from what I
partnership
found.
talk. Yes.
Yeah, it's partnership talk, right? And then, hey, what's going on? Oh, cool. This worked out really well. Yeah, I agree. It did work out really well, Scott. You helped me make a lot of money, right? Or whatever it is, right? Or pay the bills or do this deal or whatever it is. And out of it, you helped him make money, but also too, you helped him because he had a seller that needed to sell, and all of a sudden you're getting them that piece of land off of them, and now this off that seller where they wanted to sell it, and now you're helping other people potentially get into other pieces of land. So that's where I would kind of look at like relationships as well. Is you can just call them up and say, hey, I got this piece of land I'm under contract for. I want you to list it XYZ. Some, I will warn you, some agents will say, I'm an investor and I have this under contract, and they'll say kick rocks.
Gotcha.
You
Yeah,
will run into that.
sure.
And also too, it'll probably take you about 6, 7 agents before you actually find a good one.
Mm,
Just so
yeah.
you know. I don't know if this Scott is a great one. I'm assuming he looks like a nice guy, right? He might be an awesome land agent. I have no idea. All I know is that based off numbers and what I've done in the past, I've had to call 5, 6, 7 people before I got somebody to answer, or somebody to be receptive to me telling them that I'm an investor,
Yeah. Well, luckily
right?
I'm not delusional, so.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, also too, you will know because there will be some who are super friendly about it, and then other ones who are like, "Nah, we don't need any of your kind around here," and then click. It's like,
Well, like they say, you only want one, right? You only want
yeah,
the one that it works with, right? So you have to go through
yeah,
the weeds. Yeah.
yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. The other way too, and I'll show you this too. So I'm just gonna pretend like it's around Fayetteville. I have no idea where your parcel is. Okay. But what I'll also look at too is I'll look at going to Zillow, I'll go into the solds. All right. I'll keep the property type on lots and land. I'll go into filters and I'm just gonna take it totally off. All right. So no minimum, no maximum. I want to see the most amount of parcels and properties. And I'll look in here and I'll see which ones look the best. Like, ooh, this one looks kind of cool, right? Good little highlight, right? Nice little aerial photo. We look at it, pretty good photos overall. And I'll click into that and I'll say, oh, this looks pretty good. I'll scroll down to see the description. Decent description, not 1 or 2 lines. And see, I got Ashley right here. So Ashley is the one who listed this. So
Mhm.
I'm just going to copy, I'm going to paste that right in. And there is Miss Ashley. Now all of a sudden I'm going to click call and she is my one touch a day.
Right.
So that's also
Would you
too how
still
I'll also look at it. But
would you still do that if you didn't have a property? Like to do some things in advance, right? Kind of
yeah,
form relationships in advance.
yeah, yeah, you sure
Mhm.
can.
Mhm.
I mean, I work on open honesty and trust. And so I'll just tell them straight up, like, hey, like I'm, looking at the market, I've been looking at some and doing some marketing in the area. If I have, I will say that, right? And I'll just say, hey, I've been doing some marketing in the area. I'm getting really close to getting some contracts with a few different pieces of land. I was wondering whatever you want to know. I was wondering, if that would be something of interest. If I got a contract for a piece of land, would you be willing to represent me on that, or would you be willing to list it on the back end?
Right.
Um, and or hey, also, I want to make sure, if you have any buyers too, I'd love to talk to your buyer or love to have you present this to your buyers as well. Do you happen to know of where your buyers get
Exactly.
funding to XYZ, right? And then you can kind of just like let the conversation kind of naturally lead towards that funding piece of it.
Also,
It's
I'm thinking about like when you might have a seller who really should just take the route of going to a realtor and you suggest some realtors that they could reach out to. That would be,
100%.
a good way to kind of build those relationships with the realtors. Say, hey, sometimes I can't help, and I see that, some of the properties you've dealt with and you may be a good fit for them or yeah.
100%. 100%. There are times where I literally will tell sellers, I'm like, you want this price, it is too high for me to pay, right? Like here's how my numbers work, here's where I got to be at.
Yeah.
And they understand too, the seller understands that like there has to be a margin where I need to make money because that's my job. And they understand that and get that. And
Cash over
there's times
retail.
where I'm just like, you should probably just list it on the market if you're interested.
Mhm.
And then also too, you'll get the real reason why they have or have not listed it on the market yet, which normally is
Okay.
they're either too lazy, they don't want people walking through their property,
Who knows?
whatever it may be, or they don't want to deal with the headache of it, or they don't want to deal with the ups and downs and whatever. And sometimes that helps them come to a conclusion one way or another that, hey, I will actually sell it to you, or, oh yeah, no, you're right, I should list it with a realtor. Okay, cool.
As we say,
We'll list it.
the time for money spiel.
Yeah, yeah. But everyone's different, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
different. Everyone wants something different. And there's
And good
absolutely
too. If
no
it doesn't work out with the realtor, then they know who they can go back to. I'll be here.
exactly. Exactly. Right. So I play the long game, right? You will find a lot of people in the land space play the short game,
Mm,
right? Play the get quick money quick, or do whatever tactics they have to do to get in, get out, make their money.
mm.
That does happen a lot, unfortunately. But that's not where I stand. I mean, if somebody wants, if this person came to me and was like, hey, like, oh yeah, I got this property, but I want 100 grand for this 13 acres. And I'll be like, okay, like, you know, you can maybe try and, might sit on the market for a long time for 100 grand. I mean, that's set on the market for 3 months. So it's pending in 5 days, which is fantastic.
Mm.
Right. So, they might go, hey, you can try, for 100 grand. However, I can't pay that. So you're more than welcome to try that and see what happens. And, if you don't like that, I'm happy to always, my offer still stands, whatever it is. But yeah, you're right though. That is a harder time, and different sellers will have different things. And I just go about it where, I want to, sounds funny. I want to be able to sleep at night. And so, I want to be able to tell people just, hey, you're better off selling it on the market if you want that price. And people are normally pretty receptive of it. And they understand too that, if you're coming in here that, you either need to make money or, that, you need to make a spread or a margin or whatever it is. And I've even had some where I've been able to JV with them, or I pitched where I JV with them. Think of almost like an ovation, if you're familiar with that. Essentially where I say, hey, I can get you, if this parcel, if you want 100K, how about I'll give you 40,000. So when we sell it, I'll give you 40,000, and then we'll split whatever difference we get from that 50-50. After everything else, all the market costs, everything is taken out, closing costs and all that. So you'll get the first 40,000, right? So if we sell it for 80, in this case, right? If we sell it for 80, right? And closing costs we'll say is 10, or just for easy math. So we're down to 70, right? I'll give you the first 40. So now we're down to 30,000. And then we split the 30,000 50-50. You get 15, I get 15. I do all the work and whatever. And in return, you get an extra 15,000, because that would have been 15,000 potentially more than what I would have ever been able to offer you. So you can also go about it that way as well, where you can give them like a different type of offer. Hey, listen, I can't get to, 80,000 or whatever. My best offer is 45,000. And so, I don't know how I can, that's the highest I can go. However, if we do this, you could potentially get 55,000 for your land. Right. And so sometimes that can be appealing as well, where there's different ways where they can still make money. They don't have to put in the effort, but they can get a little bit higher than what you originally said. So that's another version
And
of
it
it. I
gives
don't know
you
if you've
more
been.
time, gives you more time to get it done.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And
I love
then
the
just be
creative
honest and
financing.
transparent with them. What's that?
I love the creative financing options that I'm still haven't completely explored yet when it comes to land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Same way to apply them. Just different
Right.
asset. That's all. Same way
Yeah.
to apply them. Yeah. Does that
Mhm.
kind of answer your questions though about like
Handsome.
how to make a connection and like ecosystem, how to find lenders, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions surrounding that topic? Because I know funding is always a hot topic
Mm.
or anyone else have any questions about funding or land?
Are there any, sorry, I'm piping up again. Sorry,
Yeah, fire
everybody.
away.
Um,
Fire
are
away.
there are there any standards that you have found across the board for that would help guide you as a novice when speaking with potential funders? There are certain, points that you would expect or should be discussing or bringing up to establish. I mean, I don't know how open a funder may be in terms of their terms, or if that can be discussed, right?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for sure. I don't see a reason why like a good funder should 100% be open to talking about it. If they're not, you should probably run the other way, right? Every good funder that I've ever met has been very open and willing to talk about anything and everything, right? When you get, especially institutional money, right, or professional brokers or whoever that may be, they're more than willing to talk about that. And if you don't know, just say you don't know and just ask them. I'm very transparent in those conversations. If they throw out a term and I don't know it, I'm like, hold on, time out. What does that mean? And they're like, oh yeah, no, that means this, this, and this. Oh, okay. All right, continue on. Got it. And
Yeah.
then like continue on the conversation, right? Like most of the time because those brokers know that if they don't stop and give everything crystal clear, they're never going to get through that transaction. Right. So they have actually a vested interest in you knowing exactly what's going on and knowing the terms and knowing how to get through that entire funding process. Because if you don't get through it, they don't get paid.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So at least they should.
And we
They
can
should
play our natural
always.
dumbness. That's good.
Right. Well, so they always should, theoretically, they should uh, give you, like, they should be able to run you through everything. And if you don't understand something, just tell them and they'll be able to answer that. I haven't ran into too many credible lenders that don't like talk through everything. That makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And if you don't know, just ask. There's no harm in asking.
Mhm. Mhm.
Does that make you nervous when they ask? Or like asking those questions and maybe not
Not
knowing the
really.
answers?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't mind saying, "Hey, I don't even understand what you're saying." Um, but it's
Mhm.
also nice to kind of feel like you're prepared to some degree to make sure you're asking the right questions or
Mhm.
know perhaps to some degree what the answers may be. So you're
Sure.
not taken too off guard, or so I'm a preparedness person, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you got to own your ignorance, right?
Yeah. Totally fine. Normally, if this helps you, Giselle, normally what I say to a new lender is I say, hey, I have this parcel that I'm interested in getting funding for. What's your process for that funding?
Right.
And you just let them lay out the whole thing on a silver platter. And then
Right.
they'll say, okay, the first thing that we do is we do this. And then once we do that, then we do this. And then after that, then you submit this application. And then we goes to underwriting. And then after underwriting, it is this. Right. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And so like when I go to submit that application, is there like a pre-approval or like how does all that work? Right. Because you mentioned pre-approval. And so then, then they start talking about that section. Okay, great. Okay, so then once the pre-approval is done, and then we go to submit the application, right? How long normally typically is that it'll come back in? And like, what's your normal rates? Okay, now you have the normal timeline, you have the normal rates. Okay, great, awesome. So if I was to submit this today or tomorrow, right? Because we have this contract, it should be getting signed today. So if I were to submit this today, tomorrow, once I have that contract all signed, you need the contract. What other pieces of information do you need from my end to help you underwrite that and get the funding to go through? I know it sounds really crazy, but literally you call enough of them and just ask them what the process is and they'll lay it out and then you just ask your follow-up questions. And that
Yeah.
but that's normally my opening question to them is, hey, I have this piece of land that I'm interested in getting funding for. I'm an investor. What's your process to get the funding?
Right.
And they'll
Yeah.
literally tell you.
I guess I'm not shy in my ability to come up with questions. So
Yeah. Yeah. You're doing
clarity.
great
Yeah,
here.
about
You're
clarity.
doing great here, right? I would approach it the same way as what you're approaching these office hours here, right? Where it's just ask one question and then ask another, and then that leads to another and another and another. And then before you know it, you have all your answers.
And nobody else had a chance to speak. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's all right. You take as long as you need, Giselle, because I'm sure everyone is learning and asking the same questions or has had the same thought before. Because lending and funding is always something that that's a sticky point for a lot of people on land.
Mm. Mhm.
Yep. Because less people do fund land, which is also something to note.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
Mila, good to see you again. Jeff, I see you're hiding. Jeff and Jenny, I see you're hiding in the background again. Good to see you guys again.
Hey, so good to
Set.
be here.
Yes, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank
I, s-
you. Love
I,
being
s-
here.
I saw you pop on your camera for a quick second and then you
I
popped it back off, hiding. Uh, oh, oh. Can you guys hear Jenny? Jenny, I can't hear you. I can't hear you still.
still can't hear me?
Oh, there we are.
Yeah,
You're back.
yeah. Jeff has a camera on now too.
There you go. Look at that. The
Yeah,
gang's all
Sam,
here.
we're so grateful for you and what you're teaching us. Such a
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah. Oh, I'm happy. Thank you guys for coming. Hopefully
Yeah,
everyone's learning. I know I learn something new every time too. So I appreciate it. Gets me just a little bit better as well. Selfishly.
yeah. No, It's
But
good.
yeah, awesome. What other questions you guys have? Fire away.
Yeah, I want to know if you have had any luck finding owners of trust and marketing to them, or if that's just kind of like a too much of an uphill battle. If we're looking for like, I'm guessing just in like I've been thinking about this today as I've like been looking at stuff, and there's a lot of land and trusts, and
Mhm.
that's also for on one end, I'm like, okay, this is land in a trust, so it's probably long forgotten about, and people don't know about it in a trust, or they're like, oh, it's just something in there, and they don't really care. They might not care about it, depending on where it is. But also finding the owner of it could be pretty difficult, and then you deal with lawyers and them selling it off and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if you've had any experience, or if you know what you've heard about that.
Yeah, that's a great question because you are correct, Seth. There are a lot of pieces of land that are in trust. And sometimes, especially in rural areas. So whenever they're in rural areas, normally, generally speaking, that means that that is going to be passed down from generation to generation to generation, right?
I mean, I'm finding infill lots that are in trust, like here in like San Bernardino
Yeah.
County and in Southern California.
Yeah. So that's yes. So whenever there's, I don't know, infill lots, it's hard to know. Sometimes people put it in there for tax reasons.
Sure.
Most of the time, that's why people are putting smaller infill lots in there. Normally, if it's a larger piece of land and it's in a trust, normally that's generational land.
Family stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, generally speaking. I have not gone down the trust route yet, for a couple different reasons. One is that it's much harder to find the owners of a trust, right? To be able to skip trace them or to be able to find those owners. Number two is when you find those owners, they're either really pissed off that you found them.
That's the whole point. The whole point of the trust.
Right, right. Which is normally the case with those trusts, right? Is that they're normally rather upset about that. And then number two, they might be, oh yeah, no, that's sitting in trust. We totally forgot about it. It's normally one of the two. Normally, it's 90% that they're pissed off, or maybe even more than that, maybe 95, 98% of the time they're kind of pissed off that you found them, versus 2 to maybe 5% that, oh yeah, no, actually that's been in a trust forever. We really aren't doing anything with it, and go there. I guess I just haven't seen the juice with the squeeze on that yet. It doesn't mean that it's not there. I don't know of anyone also too who specializes in that in the land space. And I don't know if that's because it's just so like tracing that is so hard and time consuming versus, are you going to get any better deal in that versus like a off market standard kind of marketing thing? I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I guess I've never really put much thought towards marketing towards trust just because of that same thought process that it's just going to take a lot more to get there. But yeah, actually, people are putting more and more houses into trusts, land trusts as well, which is kind of an interesting move. But yeah, unfortunately, hopefully that answers the question.
I just wasn't just like for me. I'm like, it seems like an uphill, like kind of more work than it's going to be worth on the back end, unless you find a huge property in the line of in the line of progress, and you can lock it up somehow.
Yeah. And it's actually interesting that you say that because I actually have two buddies who that's all that they do. Is they work with landowners, and they actually work more towards like the JV that I was just talking about with Giselle, where they essentially say, hey, we can get you this much money for it. Anything above that, we'll split it 50-50 with you. And these people are like, I don't know, like normally a highways going through is what they actually specialize in. Highways going through in Texas. And essentially they literally go and they market to these path of progress people. And so they find out where a highway is going, and then they market to those people and they say, hey, we will help you rezone it from ag land to commercial, and that will drive up the value X% via our estimations and pro forma on it. And then, we'll be able to give you this much money for this property outright, or we can partner with you and get you more money, but also to split some on the back end. And that's literally their entire business. And they might do 1 or 2 deals every year, max.
But they're 7-figure deals, or something like that could be.
Yep, correct. Correct. Right. But also
Yeah.
too, there's so much work. So much work. So like, those, they are 7 figures, but also too, like, they're going in front of boards, they're hiring attorneys, they're getting this, that, and whatever, and they're making sure to dot their I's, cross their T's. It's a very rigorous and tedious process, but there's a payout at the end for it. For sure. Yeah. But that's a really good question. I should ask those guys, actually. That brings up a good point. I should ask those guys if they go after and market people in trusts, or what they do once they're in trusts, or when they find a piece of land that's like in the trust, and see what they do in order to like try and contact them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Probably be worth their time if they have that much runway.
Yeah.
They might as well start working on it now.
Yep. And most of the time they're working on these big agricultural ranches and stuff like that are, big highways coming through, and they're going to get taken to eminent domain. So you might as well try and figure out how you can best, I don't want to say benefit out of it, but there's a highway that's going to run right through the middle of your 500-acre ranch, whether you want it to or not. It's just what's going to happen. So let's see if we can let's see if we can make lemonade out of these lemons, kind of scenario. But yeah, a whole subspecialty on its own. Like, that's all that those guys are targeting and doing.
Yeah, the whole entitlement game. Yeah.
But a very, very specific entitlement. With that path of progress and the highway, and working with the state and all the government agencies for that too. So pretty wild. Yeah, good question though. Good question. Who else has a question?
I do. I have a question.
Fire away, Jeff. Let's go.
Okay, sweet. All right. So we've been doing a lot of cold calling and getting a lot of answering machines, which is not awesome. I want to talk to people. What have you found to actually boost those rates of people you can actually talk to on the other end? Also, we've been pulling data from Land Insights. There's 3 different contact numbers. Do you contact each of those contact numbers? Do you have a way to actually streamline that process?
Yes. So I am not a cold calling fan personally,
Okay.
just because I'm a people pleaser and I don't like people yelling at me. So
Okay.
I don't personally like cold calling.
All right.
However, I have run that a few different ways, because I have cold called previously, and I also have friends who have whole cold calling centers and all that fun stuff for land. How I have run that is I will call all the numbers. So I've tried it multiple different ways, and you should split and A/B test this and test different variations for different lists and do all that. Variation 1 is you can double or triple dial them. Call them, goes to voicemail, click. Call them, goes to voicemail, click. Call them again. Okay? Because I don't know about you, but when the same number answers me 3 times, it's not a robot.
Yeah.
At least I haven't run into a robot that triple dials me yet. I'm sure it's just a matter of like months now with all the robodialers and everything that before that happens. But I generally don't run into that. So 1, you can triple dial them, right? Knowing that they might be a little aggravated when they answer. Number 1 is I will option number 2. Option number 2, all right, is I will call them. I will text them, and then I will call them right away again.
Okay.
So I will call them. They won't answer because it's an unknown number that they don't know about. I will text them, say, "Hey, it's Sam. You know, I see that you own a piece of land. Interested, like, just want to see if you're interested in selling. Let me know." And then I will call them again. Right? I'll normally give them a minute or two, and then I'll call them again. I'll give them a minute for that message to be delivered, for them to read it really quickly, and then call them right away again. Mixed results with that as well.
Okay.
That's
Just like with
brilliant,
any
though.
cold calling.
No, that's
Yeah.
great, Sam. Because when we were, yeah, that's what I was doing. I didn't do the third step. I called and then I text and then I just moved
Call them
on.
again.
But
Yeah.
I love
Call them
that
again.
idea of one more.
If I
Yeah.
could
And
add
I'll
to that,
normally,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead. Fire
I'm
away.
not doing cold calling, but from what I've learned and what apparently works too, is also for your testing too, to not only do those procedures, I guess, but also make note of try different times of day because,
Mhm.
Oh,
right?
Yep. Morning, afternoon, evening.
Yeah, evening,
Yes.
yeah, or Saturday or whatever. Mhm.
Yep. Yep. Because people are busy at different times and you just never know. So for sure, something to take a peek at. For sure.
great idea.
Um, number 3 is altering that in one way, shape, or form. I've had people who text first and then call, right? And then call again, right? I've had people who text and then text the second time and then call right away again. But they'll text like in the morning, they'll text in the afternoon and then call right away in the afternoon again. So
That's smart.
altering time on that too can be in there. Know that when you text, also too, there's rules and regulations around texting too. So just be sensitive to that when you go and you text and use that. Especially if you're in a CRM or something like that. Just watch what state you're in and what their rules are around that. But that's pretty easy. You just hop on AI or Google and just ask them, hey, what are the local rules around this? What are the state rules around this? XYZ. So, and also too, you can also have them help you with messages and whatever else that you want in that message. But those are really like the 3 ways that I've experimented with and heard of probably the best results, if you will, is a mix of calling and texting versus calling. I don't know about you guys. I get probably 10 spam calls a day.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's just kind of shaking their heads and smiling or kind of laughing or whatever. Little smirk I see on Seth's face there. So I know he gets them too. And so I just kind of like look at that and I go, okay, how is there, I won't answer those spam calls, right? I have a dedicated number for my land business. And so I know if they're calling me from that number, I know it's a land lead. And so I will answer that one, but I won't answer my actual personal phone number unless I know them. If somebody texts me and then calls and I'm familiar with it, I'll answer. So
So does your specific line for land investing, does it get marked as spam because you've done so much, even though it's registered?
I try and standard that threshold.
Okay. So
So
you
there's
use
a
it to a certain point, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, correct. I think don't hold me to this. I believe it's 50 is the
50
max.
calls?
50?
Yes. I
50 calls in a
believe
month?
no, 50 calls a day.
Okay.
I believe that is the number that if you start going over that whatever carrier might flag you as spam, potential spam. And also too, if I do know that if you send the same message more than 50 times, you will 100% be flagged as spam.
There's a great, I don't know, right now I'm using Freedom Soft. I don't know if it was actually in Freedom Soft, but you can actually, you take your text and you do 5 different options that randomly get chosen in a few different areas within the text. So there's so many multiple changes that you won't get flagged as much. And
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
So
nice.
A great idea.
yeah,
yeah.
those are called spinners.
Spinners, okay.
Yep. So texting spinners. Exactly. So there's a few different programs where they'll throw out those spinners. And so every single message, they have like 80 different variations of the same message. And so if you hit like a big list and you want to send out 5,000 texts in a day, like you can, and you won't get flagged as spam because you'll send out 1,000 to this and they'll have 80 different spinners on it. And then you'll send a secondary message that'll be like this, but then it has this many spinners on it. And so there's ways to like get around the system. You just have to really know what that system is. But if you're doing 50 or less, I mean, you can just hand do them from your phone and just vary your messaging slightly and you'll be just fine.
Have you ever tried video text messages?
I have followed up with video text messages. So for example, I haven't sent out cold video text messages. I have not done that. But what I have done with video text is if I get a lead, and even if, now this is from mailing, right? So they're calling me. But if I get a lead in there and they're not like 100% on board or they don't believe it's me or whatever it is, I will just take a quick video. I'll just be like, hey, this is Sam, it was good talking to you today. You know, it was awesome. Your piece of land looks great, XYZ, right? If you ever want to sell it, just let me know. I'm happy to make you an offer and help you out any way I can. Done. Send them. Because even that personal touch where they go, oh, you actually are a human. You're not actually just like another person on the side of a computer screen or phone or whatever, right? Now all of a sudden it gives you context and they feel like they know you a little bit better. So that's tapping deeper into like human psychology. And I don't want to give a total lesson on human psychology today because that's not what you guys were totally signing up for. But there are different ways though different depths that you can go to create established connection and how people feel about you. Without actually having like a full relationship with them, if that makes sense. And video messaging, where it's personalized, is very, very helpful in that sense. So, hey, Bill, it's Sam. Thanks for talking today. I really appreciate it. It sounds like you have an awesome piece of land. Doesn't quite sound like you're ready, and you might potentially give it to your family, which I think is awesome. If you ever do want to talk about your land, please let me know. Give me a call. This is my cell phone number. If you ever have any questions, just let me know how I can help. Send.
I really love
Like,
that you guys shared that. That's
Yeah.
like how much better though does that make you feel?
yeah.
Right? When
Totally.
you get that, there's a
Yeah.
human connection behind it. I mean, there's some psychology behind it too. Thank goodness I took so many psych courses in college, right? But there is a psychology piece to it, where it just builds a little bit more relationship and it just makes it feel a little bit more personal and human versus more like just transactional, right? And some people prefer it, some people don't. So remember that too. There are some people where you'll send out a mailer and they'll send back saying, yep, give me your price and send me a contract. And you will mail out your price and a contract and 2 weeks later it comes back signed. And
Right.
you've never talked
Cool.
to them. You don't know
That's
anything
awesome.
about them. Like that does happen.
Cool.
Now, is it common? No, it's normally somebody who's old and old school or just doesn't want to deal with whatever. They're like, whatever, I don't care. But different, like that's a very extreme of like no human touch versus like a video message. I love the video message follow-up because I think that's very personable.
Do
The
you,
higher parcels and the higher amount of money that you're going into, the better, like the more personalized touch that should be, in my mind.
do you think that like, okay, so after maybe an initial call, that to offer if they wanted to jump on a video call the second time or for the follow-up for the close, that might be a good route to take? And the reason I asked that too is because I was thinking about that. Someone else must have been talking about it recently or something, and I was thinking, I actually think I prefer to see people I speak with, especially when I don't know them. I think you can,
Mhm.
the way we sound versus how we look and sound at the same time could really help with your communication to show like, you know, that you're paying attention, to show that the expressions in your face of, you know, care or, yeah, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I think, I
nonverbals.
wonder if that would be like, I know a lot of people might say, oh, it's great. I don't have to like put my makeup on. I don't have to worry about, sorry guys, doing, you know, I don't have to be anything because I'm just on the phone. But I'm thinking, well, it might work better if I'm on a video. Should I? And even on our website, we
Yeah.
put pictures of our bios of ourselves, my partners and I, which was a collective agreement. You
Yeah,
know, lots of like AI pictures, so I might look better on the website, but you know, it's still me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, you know,
Well, there's definitely something to that, right? Because there was a few people who um who are higher up in the land space who are very popular, who you may or may not know, and they were very much like, do not put your name, do not put your face on there. You'll become a bigger target for people to sue you, right? On your land website, right? And I think that's one of two different ways. If you're trying to go after some of that faster cash, I don't think so. But what I do know though is that human relationships will create more business in the long run, right? And I want those people, whoever sell to me, I want them to be like, hey, I had a really good uh like interaction with him. It was a really good transaction. It was really smooth. It wasn't on market. He didn't give me the highest price. However, it was so easy. It was so smooth. And also too, like he was just a really nice guy to work with, right? I would rather have that than have the cold, whatever it is. And I think there's two different ways that you go about it. Some people put their face on the website, some people don't, right? So I'm on the side of, I'm gonna put my face on the website and I'd rather build a relationship around that.
thank God for AI.
Yeah, for building the website. Yes. 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 Awesome. Does anyone else have any quick questions? Otherwise, unfortunately, I have to go hop on a flight.
Okay,
But
sweet.
Don't
but
miss your
it,
flight.
This has
no,
been
I
great.
won't. I won't. I won't. I won't.
Sam, you always provide great value. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you. I
Well,
hope
I really
it sounds
appreciated
like,
my
go ahead.
first time and nice seeing you all. And thank you, Sam. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back. One more thing. One more thing. We gotta get a screenshot of everyone on here. Makeup or not, I don't care. All right. So everyone smile here. Perfect. I love it. Cool.
Fun.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Screenshot done. And I have to see about, I'm heading off to Germany. So I have to see about timing and see what my schedule looks like. But my goal is that I will still try and do as much land hours as I can from Germany, if I can, if the time and work allows me to. So
What's the time difference?
I think
It's
it's
about
8 hours from Central Time
Ahead?
ahead. Yep, 8 hours ahead.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
So
Yep.
maybe your
So
morning calls, not Monday night calls.
yeah, right. Well, I'll see. I have to see where we're at on Wednesdays and yeah, because sometimes so I'm going in there for Team USA. So I'm a physical therapist. That's my background. That's what my doctorate's in. And so I'm over there with USA Triathlon. And so those athletes, whatever they need, I have to provide it. So there are times where I can block out 1 hour, but that's about it. And anything else, I kind of have to be pretty flexible around it. So I can't promise anything right now, but I will try and have some office hours. If not, I will try and shoot out an email saying no office hours. So
Cool.
Cool.
awesome.
Thank
you.
Well, thank you
Have a
guys.
good
Thank you,
Have a good
Sam.
trip.
trip.
Yes,
Yeah, have a great trip.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks.
Yeah,
ya.
absolutely. We'll see you guys.
Bye.